People are on the edge of their seats listening. You see people become very emotional. Even seasoned reporters and law enforcement officers, they're weeping because it is just so powerful. We're expected to hear testimony from the police officer who basically took his car, rolled it down the street, using it as protection, and then hearing about Jahar actually running over his brother when officers had him down on the ground.
Back now on America's Forum, that was CNN national correspondent Deborah Fyrick reporting on what she saw in the courtroom in terms of testimony at the Boston bomber trial last week. And after a week in which 50 witnesses recounted their stories of that terrible day, proceedings are expected to resume this morning. Joining us now for the latest in legal matters, we turn to Boston criminal defense attorney Geoffrey Nathan, and of course staying with us from Newsmax Washington, my old congressional colleague Pete Hoekstra. Jeff, it's good to have you back. The most talked about testimony last week came from Dun Meng, a Northeastern University student carjacked by Tamerlan Tsarnaev. Did his testimony further incriminate the defendant?
In fact, the testimony that he provided helped the defendant in the circumstance. It kind of made him out to be the nice guy in the crowd because he asked him whether or not he could play music in his car stereo, and all he really was interested in was his music. So far, based upon that testimony, that goes in line with the theory that the defense team is pulling off a brilliant coup here. Some of the media are saying that it's some of the greatest defense work ever. I'm not so certain about that. I would like to see a little more tough cross. I'm not sure that conceding liability and guilt is a good move in this particular instance. I would have been a little more aggressive.
Hey, Jeff, as you take a look at what's going on in Boston with this case, is the prosecution speaking with clarity? You know, we saw with Fort Hood the references to workplace violence. In Boston, in this trial, are they speaking with clarity that this was a terrorist attack tied to radical jihadism in carrying that message forward?
I think they're doing a very good job of pointing out the fact that the risk to citizens of the United States of terrorism comes from within. In other words, it's citizens of the United States who are the most dangerous. It's not the jihadists overseas that pose the greatest risk to us. It's people that we allow into the United States who become citizens and then conduct their attacks. So if that's the way, society is going to conduct itself, then there's going to be more risk here.
2 minutes remain. Jeffrey, you already talked about the defense team and some of the accounts this week of a brilliant defense. You had real doubts we got together last week since from the get-go this defense team has admitted the guilt of the defendant. Can this team really pull off some sort of legal feat in this courtroom?
Well, you see, what the defense is doing is paralleling what Clarence Darrow, one of the most renowned criminal defense lawyers in the history of the United States, is doing, where he would concede guilt and then sort of move on to the sentencing phase within the trial phase in order to keep his clients from the gallows. Here, I think that there was some doubt that the defense could have raised. What the defense concern was that by cross-examining, they would insult the jury. That's what we call a laydown. I mean, Tsarnaev really has some exculpatory facts that he could bring to bear, and so far it just hasn't happened.
Only a minute's left. And let me just ask you about another case. I guess we'll call it the HBO admission of Robert Durst on a microphone saying, quote, killed them all or killing them all. Is this going to end up being admissible in court, or is he protected from that? We've got about 30 seconds for the answer, Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's more likely than not to come in. What Judge O'Toole is doing right now is just evaluating the physical means by which it's going to come in. Are they going to bring in the scrawling on the boat? Are they going to cut it out of the boat and bring that in? Are they going to bring the jury to the boat so that they can inspect what it is that he wrote? But yeah, a handwritten statement saying that you did it normally is going to come in. Now, the issue is, are they really going to have to do a handwriting exemplar? I mean, there's some hoops that the government's going to have to go through for sure.
Fair enough. Gentlemen, we appreciate Geoffrey Nathan in Boston, our good friend Pete Hoekstra in Washington. Hour 2 of our program straight ahead.